The air in Europe, thick with the stench of impending conflict, carried a chilling whisper, a secret far more terrifying than any conventional weapon. It spoke of a power so immense, so utterly destructive, that its mere theoretical existence threatened to reshape humanity's destiny. This was not the Manhattan Project, a name now synonymous with atomic terror. This was an earlier, more clandestine genesis, a period when the seeds of fear were first sown, long before the world fully grasped the implications of what lay dormant within the atom. Amidst this growing unease stood Leo Szilard, a brilliant but deeply troubled physicist. His mind, a crucible of scientific foresight and moral dread, was haunted by visions of a world ravaged by atomic warfare. He saw not only the potential for unlimited energy, but also the horrifying specter of cities reduced to ash, populations annihilated. This profound sense of responsibility weighed heavily upon him, transforming his intellectual curiosity into an urgent, desperate quest to warn a world teetering on the precipice of self-destruction. He wrestled with an internal conflict, torn between the exhilarating pursuit of scientific knowledge and the devastating ethical implications of its destructive potential. His initial isolation was profound. His warnings, often dismissed as the ramblings of an alarmist, found little traction within a scientific community still grappling with the theoretical, rather than the practical horrors of such a discovery. Then came the seismic intellectual shockwave that would forever alter the course of history, the discovery of nuclear fission. In a Berlin laboratory, Otto Hahn and Fritz Strassmann, through meticulous experimentation, had achieved an unprecedented feat. Their work, an undeniable triumph of scientific inquiry, was quickly overshadowed by its terrifying implications. It was Lise Meitner, a brilliant Austrian physicist, who provided the crucial interpretation, unveiling the immense energy release inherent in the splitting of the uranium nucleus. Her insight transformed a perplexing observation into a stark, undeniable truth, adding a layer of scientific wonder to the growing dread that gripped the more perceptive minds. The scientific community, once skeptical, now faced the dawning realization of the chain reaction, a double-edged sword capable of providing limitless power or ultimate indiscriminate destruction. As these scientific breakthroughs unfolded, the geopolitical landscape of Europe darkened considerably. The continent was on the brink, a backdrop of escalating tension and the relentless, terrifying rise of Nazism. For scientists like Szilard, the prospect of Adolf Hitler's regime harnessing this new unimaginable power became a constant, gnawing fear. It fueled a desperate race against time, a silent intellectual battle for the very future of humanity. Szilard's desperation grew with each passing day. He tirelessly attempted to alert the scientific community and political leaders, often met with disbelief or worse, complacency. His pleas seemed to fall on deaf ears, until he made a pivotal decision. He approached Albert Einstein, a man whose immense moral authority and intellectual stature were unparalleled. Szilard knew that Einstein's voice would carry weight where his own had failed. Together they drafted an iconic letter to President Franklin D. Roosevelt, not merely a scientific warning, but a profound plea for humanity's survival. The letter's journey to the president's desk was an uncertain path, fraught with the possibility of dismissal. Would it be heard, or would it be cast aside as mere academic alarmism, consigning the world to an unimaginable fate? Before we continue, subscribe to the channel and tell us in the comments where you are watching from. The letter, bearing the formidable signature of Albert Einstein, finally reached President Franklin D. Roosevelt, not as an academic curiosity but as a stark warning delivered by a trusted messenger. Its arrival marked a cautious first step into an unknown future, transitioning the pervasive fear among a select group of scientists into hesitant, yet decisive action. Roosevelt, a leader already grappling with the immense pressures of impending war, carried the heavy burden of national security and global stability on his shoulders. His initial reaction was one of skepticism, a natural response to such an unprecedented and almost fantastical claim. However, the sheer credibility of Einstein, combined with the growing geopolitical threat posed by Adolf Hitler and the relentless march of Nazism across Europe, tempered his doubt. The decision was monumental, to initiate a highly secretive and potentially world-altering program, a gamble with the very fabric of human existence at stake. Thus, the Advisory Committee on Uranium was born, marking the formal genesis of what could only be described as a secret nuclear project. It was, in its nascent stages, a small, underfunded, and often overlooked endeavor. The early researchers faced formidable challenges, limited resources, a vast landscape of scientific unknowns, and the immense, suffocating pressure of absolute secrecy. They worked in isolation, often in makeshift laboratories, acutely aware that their every calculation, every experiment held monumental stakes. The psychological toll on these pioneering scientists was immense. They carried the weight of a potential apocalypse, a silent burden that permeated their every waking moment. Among these dedicated individuals was Enrico Fermi, a brilliant and methodical physicist whose quiet determination belied the revolutionary nature of his work. Fermi was driven by an insatiable scientific curiosity, a desire to unlock the universe's fundamental secrets, but also by a profound sense of patriotic duty. He understood the ethical tightrope he walked, the delicate balance between scientific advancement and its potentially catastrophic applications. His unwavering focus was on achieving a controlled chain reaction, a scientific quest that carried with it profound moral implications. He represented the quiet resolve of those who understood the terrifying power they sought to harness. The search for control became an almost obsessive pursuit. The painstaking process of experimentation, trial, and error unfolded in early labs across the United States. Researchers grappled with the quest for key materials, particularly pure graphite and uranium, which were scarce and difficult to refine. The engineering challenges were immense, demanding innovative solutions to problems no one had ever encountered. Theoretical breakthroughs were required daily, pushing the boundaries of known physics. The tension escalated with each passing month, as the scientific community raced not only against the looming threat of the Nazis potentially developing their own atomic weapon, but also against their own technological limitations. Every failed experiment, every setback, amplified the pressure, reminding them of the catastrophic consequences of delay. This relentless pursuit culminated in the audacious Chicago Pile 1 experiment. Beneath the abandoned west stands of Stagg Field at the University of Chicago, a clandestine construction began. It was an improbable setting for an event that would irrevocably alter the course of history. Fermi and his team meticulously prepared, stacking graphite blocks interspersed with uranium, creating a bizarre spherical lattice. The risks were immense. A miscalculation could unleash a deadly wave of radiation. The immense pressure weighed heavily on Fermi and his dedicated colleagues, their faces etched with a mixture of anticipation and apprehension. As the experiment approached its critical moment, the atmosphere grew thick with unspoken tension. Then came the moment of truth. On December 2, 1942, in that squash court-turned-laboratory, the control rods were slowly withdrawn. A hushed silence fell over the room, broken only by the rhythmic clicking of neutron counters. Every eye was fixed on the instruments, every breath held. The needle on the recorder began to climb steadily, confirming the impossible. The first self-sustaining nuclear chain reaction had been achieved. It was a silent, profound triumph, a scientific victory of unparalleled magnitude. But in that moment of exhilaration, there was also a chilling realization, a harbinger of unimaginable power unleashed, forever changing humanity's relationship with the atom. The immediate aftermath of Chicago Pile 1 was a strange dichotomy. Quiet triumph mingled with a dawning, terrifying realization of what had been unleashed. There were no shouts of joy, no grand pronouncements, just a hushed confirmation of success, a silent, profound victory that would soon reverberate across the globe. The initial overwhelming emotion was relief, a collective exhale from the scientists who had risked their lives and reputations. But beneath that relief simmered a profound anxiety. The theoretical possibility of an atomic bomb, once a distant abstract concept, was now a tangible reality, confirmed by the very chain reaction they had just witnessed. The mixed emotions were palpable: pride in their monumental scientific achievement, yet profound apprehension about its ultimate destructive use. They had opened a door, and through it, peered into an abyss. This quiet, yet momentous success served as the catalyst for an unprecedented expansion. The secret nuclear project rapidly transformed from a small underfunded scientific endeavor into an industrial-scale war effort, the Manhattan Project. This transition brought with it new figures, primarily military personnel, who now exerted significant control over the program. The focus shifted dramatically from pure scientific inquiry to the urgent, singular goal of weaponizing this newfound power. The sheer scale of the undertaking was staggering. Vast resources were poured into the project, diverting materials and manpower on a national level. Thousands of individuals, from physicists and chemists to engineers and laborers, were mobilized across secret sites, all working towards a common, terrifying objective. The scientific spirit that had marked the initial phases began to give way to the relentless efficiency of a wartime industrial complex. As the project grew, so too did the moral dilemma within the scientific community. The initial euphoria of discovery gave way to a growing unease, a deep internal struggle between duty and conscience. Many scientists, including Leo Szilard, found themselves grappling with the irreversible consequences of their pursuit. They had sought to understand the universe, to harness its fundamental forces, but in doing so, had opened a Pandora's box. The weight of this realization pressed heavily upon them. They were making personal sacrifices, often working in anonymity, for a project whose full scope and devastating potential they could not yet fully comprehend. The ethical questions were complex and agonizing. Could they, in good conscience, unleash such destructive power upon the world? Yet, the threat of Nazism, the fear that Adolf Hitler might develop such a weapon first, continued to drive them forward, a grim justification for their work. In the shadow of the colossal Manhattan Project, the memory of the initial, smaller endeavor, the secret nuclear project that had laid the groundwork, began to fade. The groundbreaking work of Leo Szilard, the critical interpretation by Lise Meitner, the pioneering discovery by Otto Hahn and Fritz Strassmann, and even the audacious Chicago Pile 1 experiment, led by Enrico Fermi, were gradually overshadowed. The historical injustice was palpable. These early pioneers, whose foresight, brilliance, and courage had initiated the atomic age, were often overlooked, their crucial contributions lost to the annals of history. Yet the enduring significance of these initial steps cannot be overstated. Without their early warnings, their tireless efforts, and their foundational scientific breakthroughs, the atomic age might have taken a very different, perhaps far more catastrophic path. Their work was the indispensable bedrock upon which the colossus of the Manhattan Project was built. The world was changed forever by the atomic bomb, a stark, undeniable reminder of humanity's capacity for both unparalleled creation and unimaginable destruction. The lingering questions persist to this day. Was it a necessary evil to end the war? Could it have been avoided? The powerful legacy of that secret nuclear project, born from fear and scientific curiosity, continues to shape global politics and human consciousness. It is a story of scientific brilliance, profound moral quandaries, and the indelible mark left on human history. The profound historical irony is chillingly clear. The smaller, largely forgotten project, conceived in desperation and executed with quiet determination, laid the groundwork for a weapon that secured victory in a global war, but simultaneously ushered in an era of unprecedented global fear, forever altering the geopolitical landscape. It stands as a testament to the power of a single, secret beginning, a moment when humanity stepped across a threshold from which there was no return.